And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. So he came near where I stood. And when he came, I was afraid and I fell up on my face. And he said to me, understand, O Son of Man, for at the time of the end is the vision. I want you to note this. Every time they have visions, it's about the time of the end. That is not the end of the earth. It's not the end of time. It's the end of the second world, the world that was to bring forth the Christ. So when the whole Bible talks about the end of the world, it's the end of the law world. Hebrews 1 says, now in the last days, God speaks to us through his Son. Hebrews 9:26, at the end of the world, he brought the final sacrifice. This is the end of the world. But then he also goes on and he keeps speaking about an appointed time. Now, the appointed time is the fullness of time. That is when God manifested. Great is the mystery of godliness. He says, without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God manifesting in the flesh. So that was the fullness of time. The end of time will be when the sons will manifest as God on the earth. So he says, for at the time of the end is this vision. So all of the book of Daniel is about the end of the world, the end of the law world. Now, as he was speaking to me, I was in a deep sleep on my face towards the ground, and he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make you know what shall be the last end of indignation. You can just as well call it the day of vengeance, the final removal, which happened from the cross to 70 AD. For at the time appointed, the end shall be. If we go back to Daniel 2, where Daniel actually revealed the vision and the dream of the king. Daniel was telling the king the dream, and he says, for as much as you saw the stone out of the mountain with the hands. Now, this is what everything is about. The stone is Christ. And where does this stone come from? Moses was on the mountain saying, God, show me your glory. God said, you cannot see my face. But there is a place beside me on the rock, a place. Jesus came to prepare a place for us. And he's the rock. 1 Corinthians 10 says, the rock that followed them. Moses was the builder of the house, but the stone was cut loose without man's hands. And the rock followed him. But the builders refused this rock. They killed him. So Jesus became the rock that the builders refused. But he says, the stone that was cut out without man's hands, and it break in pieces, it hit the statue, it break in pieces. The clay and the silver and the gold, and the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. Now listen to this. The dream is certain, and the interpretation is sure. And this is at the appointed time at the end. He sometimes put it together and sometimes he splits it. But if you understand time, it's like this. This for sure will be. So what's happening here? The biggest king on the earth got a vision, but the rock is going to hit the kingdoms of the world. And Revelation says the kingdoms of the world has now become the kingdom of our Lord and our God, and he will reign forever and ever. And Paul hooked on it and he said, glory be to God in the church, a world without end. So what he is talking about here is the world that is going to end. And it goes from Daniel right up to Revelation, where the seals are opened and we can understand. So it's time that we get into the Spirit, that we can understand from the beginning to the end. So what we have in the book of Daniel, we have the statue, and it was Babylon Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome.